Hello, What Culture? My name is Simon Miller, and I just want to start things off by thanking you for always supporting me in this ups and downs journey, the show where we do indeed go through professional wrestling programs, and we give the good bits an up, and we give the bad bits a down, and we do it using this. This is like a beginner's guide, just in case you don't know. It's called the Finger of Power, the FOP, and it knows more than me, and it knows more than you. We do have another episode of AEW Dynamite in the books, but right now, nobody knows if it was good or it was bad because we haven't done ups and downs. Let's change all that and up those downs for AEW Dynamite. The start of Dynamite was the best thing that has ever happened on this planet Earth, and I am only half joking, because not only did we have a crowd that was just ready to erupt at everything they were going to see, but AEW Dynamite, a brand new wrestling show in the modern day, was introduced by Virgil, aka Soulman Jones. I mean, what timeline and what reality have I just stepped into? But I tell you this, not only did I love that, I loved every single thing that happened afterwards too. Give it up. It was also the start of Chris Jericho's Thanksgiving celebration. And look, if Le Champion is going to celebrate, we are going to celebrate here as well on ups and downs. What the hell was that? Anyway, as antiquated and as ridiculous as it sounds, this was a little bit like a throwback to the Attitude Era. I mean, it was over the top, it was dumb, it was ludicrous, but my word, was it entertaining. And almost in the first minute, Chris Jericho had announced that he'd made his own champagne and you could actually buy it. And have a guess what happened? That's right, it sold out instantly. Also, I'm well aware my hat doesn't fit in the screen. The champ then welcomed the rest of the inner circle to the ring, and they all had gifts for him. Sammy Guevara, who by the way gets nuclear heat wherever he goes, which makes him a badass, had a cardboard cutout of him and Chris Jericho. Santana and Ortiz gave him a headband. They were like, oh man, you're Puerto Rican now. And Jake Hager came out with an actual goat, and I'm not joking, he had an actual goat and said its name was Chris Jericho. Because, you know, Jericho, I didn't say that right. Chris Jericho, because he is the greatest of all time. On a quick aside too, between this and when they brought out Cody's dog, I really think All Elite Wrestling just stop with the live animals. The poor goat looked absolutely terrified. If we take that and put it over here, all of this was magnificent. Even Jericho's dad popped out of a box and started to insult the crowd, which was absolutely surreal. And eventually Chris Jericho got Justin Roberts in the ring announcer, because he said, look, I want you to read this note from TNT with them saying wonderful things about me. He started to do that, but for some reason Jericho didn't like his tone, and because he was from Chicago, where this episode of Dynamite was airing from, the inner circle started to whoop his ass, because never forget, they are a bunch of dicks. Thankfully, SCU had disguised themselves as some of the band members who were also surrounding the squared circle at this time, which, don't forget, means that all of them stood there and watched the whole ceremony and didn't do anything until this point. They did chase the heels away, however, and Christopher Daniels even put the $1 Million Dream on Virgil, because, you know, he used to be teamed with the $1 Million Man. You have no idea how pleased I was about this. This was as bonkers as it sounded, but it ticked all the boxes. It got everybody involved over, it built to our main event. It was 10 out of 10 TV. What the hell is wrong with this thing? I would watch again. We then entered a crazy realm with AEW, because not only did the Lucha Brothers versus the Best Friends not get too much time, and look, I got no problem with that. I think AEW actually does need to shorten their matches, but the Best Friends actually won. Hands up if you saw that coming. That's right, nobody's got their hands up. However, it was good up. Orange Cassidy was dressed up like a turkey, because of course he was. And the real thing you need to know, the highlight of all of this, is at one point, Phoenix drop-kicked Trent's ass. That's right, he went for the rectum, he went from the behind, and he scored. This also allowed Taylor to take out Pentagon on the outside, which meant back in the ring, yes, Trent hit the crunchy onto Phoenix and got the 1, 2, 3. And if you've been keeping up with the Best Friends, they have now been whooping the Lucha Brothers' ass for a couple of weeks. I mean, Trent also got the win on AEW Dark. It also means all of a sudden, from nowhere, because we do care about wins and losses, the Lucha Brothers are struggling and the Best Friends are climbing up the rankings. And next week, we're also going to get Trent versus Phoenix. Well, I guess we're going to have to see how all this plays out. I didn't see it coming. I'm a little bit confused. Bea Priestley was then teaming with Sakura to take on Shida and Kris Statlander, and I think we have actually arrived at the place I was worried that we were going to arrive at. So you get on a train and you want to go to Bristol, but instead you end up in, I don't know, Glasgow, because those two places are nowhere near each other. I know AEW is still trying to find the best way to showcase their women's division and introduce everybody. You just keep getting random tag matches that I struggle to care about, because it is just 4 wrestlers thrown into a scenario and they go, well, you make something out of that. Just what happened. This was one too far, it's getting it down. And this was mostly fine, like I say, but I did find myself drifting a little bit because it went a little bit too long. We've already talked about that. But also at this point, I just need stories and I need characters. Also, the finish was meh, which was doubly worse, because then we got a similar finish later on, which made that doubly meh, because Bea Priestley distracted the referee, and when that happened, Sakura's out there and she hit somebody with a damn microphone stand, and then used the most devastating move in all of professional wrestling, the surprise roll-up, or here a surprise crucifix, and indeed those 2 assholes got the win. And all these guys are super talented, they just need a direction, otherwise you may as well just put this on Dark instead. Like, what happened to all the beef between Bea Priestley and Britt Baker? I know they had a fight, but as soon as that was done, it kinda just ended. Jon Moxley, I think, then told us that he was Napalm Death and he dared anybody to step up to his challenge. I actually went on Google and typed, is Jon Moxley Napalm Death? Because I thought he meant the metal band. Some of what I've just said isn't true. I'll let you figure it out. Cody was then back on Dynamite properly after this, and that gets 2 thumbs up. He had his grand entrance, the crowd absolutely loved him, and he whooped some jobber's ass. I think his name was like Chris Nix or something like that. And he made him tap out with the figure 4. Give it an up. It was what came after this that mattered, because I think maybe MJF is setting himself up with a bigger team, or maybe someone that's about to come into the organization is starting to make their presence known. Wink, wink, villain, villain. But basically, as Cody got on a microphone and told MJF to get his butt out here, the Butcher and the Blade debuted in AEW instead and absolutely destroyed him. Now look, if you were a little bit confused, that's fine. I was also confused, and the crowd was doubly confused because nobody really knew who these 2 were. Even Jim Ross was like, I don't know what's going on. Excalibur had to be like, look, I'll tell you, Jim. Play into the story. They left Cody laying until they also introduced Ali as their 3rd. And like I say, I can see this going in multiple ways. Maybe it does turn out that MJF and Wardlow are in charge of this. But yes, maybe Marty Scurll, just saying, is about to come into AEW and lead these guys. But either way, we are surely setting up for some kind of War Games-esque match that has been being teased, because you can have the Inner Circle, you can have Cody and the Elite and Kenny Omega, and you can either have these guys, or if they do team up with MJF and Wardlow, there are 3 unique groups that can just have a crazy war. I like where all this is headed. Now, of course, AEW needs to make sure we figure out who the Butcher and the Blade are, but I'm sure they will. Fingers crossed. Pac versus Omega was next. I mean, what do you want? Taking off my hat. I'm struggling. Up. And I think we should use this time to talk about what good wrestlers they are, even though their styles are pretty much unique when you take a step back and think about it. But they're so smooth and they're so athletic, and everything they pull off just looks so good. I envy how good they are at the art of professional wrestling. And it's a round of applause for Kenny Omega and Pac. You guys are among the best in the world. There ain't no 2 ways about it. And oddly, I think my highlight of this, even though there was more devastating moves, was when Kenny went for the V-trigger and Pac just tried to lariat his head off. It was just the timing of everything. And like I say, the impact, both of them were down afterwards. I sat there and I was like, you know what, when this kind of stuff happens, I remember why I love pro wrestling. Much like the tag division as well, it does seem like we are making a play here to shake everything up, because while Kenny Omega has been struggling to find his feet and Pac has been on a tear, that is not what went down here, because instead we gave the win to the cleaner. And oddly, I don't even care that the finish was another surprise crucifix pin by Kenny. And here's the deal, here's the reason. I am going to moan about similar finishes in around about 3 minutes time, but this was just such a high class of match, I couldn't even get mad at it. I tried, I searched my feelings like a Jedi, and all my guts and my intestines told me, well, no, Simon, you really like this. And that's just the way it is. Like, if you go out for a good meal at a restaurant and your main dish is awesome and your dessert is just only okay, it doesn't affect your main dish. You still like that. And also, 9 times out of 10, all desserts taste brilliant because they're loaded with sugar. In short, this was just excellent. And like I say, I envy how good they are at this stuff. Diamond Ring time next, and I never thought I'd actually care about jewelry because look, I don't wear any, but it was MJF versus Hangman Page. It was good. As you could probably guess too, this wasn't a fair fight at all because Wardlow was in MJF's corner and he kept getting involved. I mean, he tripped the cowboy and at one point he took MJF's foot and put it on the ropes. He was just being a massive bellend. And it was this reason as well why Hangman wasn't able to get his hands on a new accessory, but it's also where we do have to talk about repetitive finishes. And I'm being a slight hypocrite here, but again, it's all about the context and how it's presented. And at this point on the card, I'd already seen a lot of similar stuff, but this time my brain was like, no, Simon, you're going to have to talk about it. If you don't, you're not being true to yourself. Because even though earlier on we had seen Bea Priestley pull a referee out the way and then her second get involved, we just did exactly the same thing here. So MJF pulled the referee out the way, and then Wardlow punched Hangman Page right in the face, and that did allow MJF to hit a crossroads. Thankfully, it wasn't a damn surprise roll-up out of nowhere. I would have gone crazy. And after he had hit, let's be honest, a very, well, not smooth-looking crossroads, onto Hangman, he got the 1, 2, 3. And that was good, because it ties into his story with Cody. But couldn't we have come up with something a little bit different than something I'd already seen earlier in the night? Sorry, down. The aftermath rocked, though. DDP was out to present the Diamond Ring, because, you know, his name is Diamond Dallas Page, so why the hell not? It kind of works in that sense. And he told MJF straight up, I don't like what you've been doing recently, but because I am the bigger man, here's your new ring, and shake my hand. And do you know what MJF did? He spat out his gum, and he put it into DDP's hand instead. I mean, not only is that dastardly, but it's straight up hygienically disgusting. This led to a stare down between MJF and DDP before Wardlow got in there and started looking at Diamond Dallas instead. And because Page is just the greatest human being on the planet, he looked at the big guy and said, look, dude, you better step off, because if you don't, I'm going to embarrass you when a 63-year-old man kicks your ass all over Chicago. I love DDP. Everybody then backed off as security separated them, and I can only assume that at some point DDP does get absolutely mullered by MJF and Wardlow, and the boos that are going to rain down on them, it'll be like nothing we've ever seen. And then there was just a couple of update skits after this. Dustin Rhodes was out cutting a promo saying that he's going to kill Jake Hager because he broke his arm, and eventually there was a brawl between those guys, the Inner Circle, and the Young Bucks got involved as well. And we had another video for the Dark Order, and I love these. Not only are they making so much more sense of that group, they're just really interesting and they're really different. I get excited about where this is going. And we finished Dynamite this week with Chris Jericho versus Scorpio Sky for the AEW title. I mean, come on. And this isn't the best championship match you'll ever see, but the crowd was just so desperate to see Scorpio Sky pull off some kind of upset that they made the atmosphere here absolutely electric. And I know I go on about it a lot, but it is a huge plus point for All Elite Wrestling. Their audience is like the extra man. It was pretty even for most of it as well, until of course Jake Hager was out there and he was making a nuisance of himself. Scorpio Sky saw this and he had to break up a Dragon Sleeper, which allowed Le Champion to do a surprise roll-up. And thankfully, Scorpio Sky kicked out of 2. If he hadn't, I probably would have broken my television. The rest of SCU then came out of this because they did not enjoy what Jake Hager was doing. And as the referee tried to brush them away, that damn Chris Jericho picked up his championship belt and he was going to hit Scorpio Sky in the head. But instead, Scorpio Sky got out of the way and he hit a TKO on Jericho. And I tell you, he got such a close near fall, I think my bowels fell out of my ass. In the real world though, Sky was never going to become the champion. It would have made no sense, and that was the deal here. After utilizing the Lion Tamer throughout this match, Chris Jericho went back to it one more time. Scorpio couldn't handle it, and he had to tap out. Sky got loads out of this, which should always be the way with these matches, and we also found out what was next for Chris Jericho. Why? Well, because slowly out of the crowd came Jon Moxley, and he stared a hole through Chris Jericho like, I'm gonna take your title, and then maybe I'll take your soul too. Not the Undertaker. The champion looked like he was gonna crap himself, and I am absolutely ready for that program. Probably because if AEW do decide to switch the championship and give it to Jon Moxley, been thinking about it, I'd be alright with it. I mean, who more over than Jon Moxley? Especially because he's kind of like AEW Sting. Like everybody else is grouping off and they've got people around him, but not Jon Moxley. He stands by himself because he's an absolute lunatic, not fringe. And you know what? It was another good episode of AEW Dynamite. The opening was absolute fire, the ending was a lot of fun, and while there were some bumps along the road, I'm still intrigued to see where we are going to go with this cast of characters. So there's my spinny arrow. Overall, it gets an up. I'm a happy man, and the celebration's over now. Celebration's over. Everybody calm down. Stuff off. It's going to take a while. Should have done this on camera. Oh, that hurt too. Back to normal. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's AEW Dynamite. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to whatculture.com, read yourself some articles. Follow What Culture on Twitter, What Culture WWE, and watch more videos here on What... No. Watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture, and yes, last reminder, I'll see you Saturday for Ups and Clowns where I will dress up like a clown because I lost my bet. That's that.